Greetings, everybody. Sorry it's taken me so long to get this out. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of stuff going on that interrupts me and whatnot, keeps me busy, preoccupied, etc. Anyway, my apologies for taking so long. First off, I got to thank Leroy Skalstad for thinking of me. He had a GoPro 13 that he wasn't using. And he thought of me and sent it to me. It had a special lens on it that didn't work out for what he wanted. And rather than let it sit around, he thought of me. So Leroy, thank you. I appreciate that. And Leroy is the fellow that did the Hobo Shoestring Monument in Britt, Iowa. So Leroy, thanks for that and just your kindness to the train hopping community. You're appreciated greatly. So I'm sidelined with some old man medical bullshit until the middle of June. Nothing serious, but I'm in the hole, so to speak. So I'll get some stuff done and hopefully be writing before the end of June so that I don't go stir crazy or drive my wife nuts in the meantime. Where we had left off was we were had rolled through Huntington, Oregon, and across the Snake River into Idaho, and it started raining. And so had to put everything away, hunker down, and get in the bivvy and try and stay warm and dry and keep rolling. So we rolled on into Nampa. And then, as Stowe would say, we rolled on through the darkest hours of the night. And I kind of started waking up and we were rolling into Pocatello. And Pocatello is, it can be a hurdle. There's a lot of activity going on, a lot of people there. And we were there right during, the morning hours and a lot of switching and all kinds of stuff going on there. So it's one of those sort of nerve-wracking deals, but bad things can happen, whether anybody intends them to or not. Your train can stop right next to an engine, which it did. Fortunately, it wasn't occupied, but you don't know that at the time, So anyway, but we did manage to roll on through there, and I enjoy some of the things that you see. For instance, I saw an old building with a clock, and I thought it was the Armour Creamery building, but that turned out to be a warehouse in front of it. And what the building with the clock is now, I don't know what it originally was, but what it is now is the Clean Museum. And it turns out it's a quite large museum dedicated to cleaning. And, only in America. And only in Pocatello. So if you want to see the Clean Museum, you're going to have to go to Pocatello sometime and check it out. But on we went, headed for Green River, and I thought we'd be there in plenty of time to have dinner at my favorite little Mexican restaurant there. Well, come along for the ride and let's see what happened. empty auto racks. crazy how far you can see from some of these places. Well, I tell you what, on a late April cold night in Wyoming, a guy might start dreaming about riding in a unit. So we made it to Kemmerer, Wyoming, and we stopped there and we sat and we got dog caught again. For the second time, we had a crew die. So what normally would have taken maybe a day and a half is now going to be pushing almost 3 days to get from Portland to Green River. And so we missed our dinner and pretty much exhausted, definitely ready for a break, but we didn't get into Green River till well after midnight. So that's kind of the way train hopping goes. So one more last leg coming soon, so stay tuned.